Hey guys, happy Mario Day! And I wanted to make an interesting video about my favorite Mario game of all time, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. So recently, I did my first ever run of Pre-Hooktail Pit, and it was pretty fun. And one thing that played a big role in that run was status effects, because of Fire Drive, as well as various items, and the status effects that enemies or Bonetail kind of inflicted on Mario. So that kind of inspired me to do a ranking of the status effects, and to make it simple, I wanted to rank the ones that Mario or the partner specifically either inflicts on the enemy, or could use on themselves. I think it would be a little too complicated if I kind of factored in like enemies putting status effects on Mario, so I'm limiting it to status effects that Mario could take advantage of. But before we get started, I wanted to mention that I have a goal to hit 30,000 subscribers before the Switch 2 launches, so if you enjoy my content, consider subscribing, and if I hit that goal, I will give away a copy of the new Mario Kart game. So without further ado, let's rank these status effects. So we're gonna start off with Burn, and I think this one could be pretty good, because it's usually accompanied by a move that does quite a bit of damage, like Fire Drive or Vivian's moves, and it's also very useful for chipping away at an enemy's health, like especially in things like the Pre-Hooktail Pit, like with Bonetail, and some of the later enemies it could definitely be pretty helpful. So I would definitely say A tier. I won't quite put it in S tier, but I think A tier is pretty good. And also, the reason why Poison isn't on here is because, like I said, this is only ones that Mario or the partner could utilize. So, and Poison is basically, like, the same as Burn anyway. So, like, think of this as, like, if Mario had access to Poison, like, it would be, like, alongside Burn as well. But next up, we have Frozen. And this one, I mean, it could be useful, but I don't think it's quite as good as some of the other immobilizing status effects, since the enemy can be broken out of it, like, when it's attacked. So, like, I mean, it is useful, like, to freeze one enemy, and then, like, the other enemies you attack and everything, that can still be very useful. And then also, if you freeze the enemies and you could use, like, Sweet Treat or an item or something, that's also good. But it doesn't have as much utility, so I'm thinking probably either B or C tier. I'm gonna put it in B tier for now. I might move it down, like, as we go on, but it's not bad. I just think there are better ones. Like, the next one, Sleep. Sleep is a lot better, especially because of the buff that it got in the remake, and yes, I am considering the remake in this ranking. I'm kind of ranking them based on the remake, but in the remake, enemies can't be woken up from sleep, which makes Sleep really good, especially in the pit, or the Pre-Hooktail Pit, especially, like with Sleepy Stomp. Like, it definitely makes Sleepy Stomp very good. So, I think, and then, like, a lot of enemies, like, Amazy Daisies, are susceptible to Sleep. And I think that makes Sleep pretty good. I think, honestly, I would definitely say A tier for this alongside Burn. So next up we have Dizzy, and I'm not a huge fan of this move. Like, it's kind of associated with, like, one of the worst moves in the game with Now's Tease. Then there's also, like, the Dizzy Dial as well. Like, it literally only makes the enemies miss, like, some of the time, which, I mean, I guess in a desperate situation can be good, but it doesn't have quite as much utility as, like, the others. So, I'm gonna put this in D tier. I'm not really a huge fan of it, honestly. And next up, we have Immobilize, well, the actual one that completely immobilizes the enemies, and this one is very good. Like, I would say probably, I might put this in S tier, honestly. This is really good. Like, if you're using Clock Out or a Stopwatch, like, this could be very good. And then there's also places in the pit where I think it's in the 80s, where like most of the enemies are kind of susceptible to clock out. So that's pretty good. I think that definitely either A tier or S tier. I think it kind of hovers around there. But yeah, definitely a step above sleep, I would say. So yeah, even if like some enemies like have a lower chance of being affected by it, it can still come in handy like a lot of the time, especially since you have the crystal star that can allow you to do it. So I'm gonna put this in F tier. I really don't like it. Because, like, it's very unreliable when you're doing it, like, either with Vivian or, like, Ruin Powder. As well as the fact that, like, I know I wasn't considering, like, the enemies inflicting status effects on you, but it's also horrible when you get affected by it from an enemy and everything. So there is really nothing good about, like, confusion at all. Like, it's bad when you get hit by it, it's bad when you use it or rely on it to hit the enemies. It's just not very good, in my opinion. I feel like, I really hope this doesn't come back in another Paper Mario game in the style of Thousand Year Door, honestly. I am just not a fan of this move. And then next up, we have Allergic, which basically makes you immune to all status effects, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, and this could be attained by space food. It's a very obscure status effect, but it's kind of neutral, I would say. I think like this is kind of like the perfect one to put in C tier, because like it could either help you or harm you. Like you can't use any like of the like attack buffs or like the ones that will heal you or like just like help you in a lot of ways. So there is like a trade-off there, but it is very obscure as well. Like, I have barely ever seen this in like the times that I've played Thousand Year Door, and I'm sure like most people won't see this on a normal playthrough. So it's a pretty obscure one, but I think C tier is fine for this one. The next up is Counter and Holdfast. I made two separate entries for this because Holdfast behaves slightly differently than Counter. Like, there are certain moves, like, I think, like, one of the moves that, like, Dupless has, that, like, Holdfast can counter, but not the regular counter from, like, Payback and, like, Spite Pouch. So, they're, I mean, but I am gonna rank them similarly, too, but they are both not very good, because, like, it's just not optimal, I would say. Like, if you're trying to either, like, have your partner in peril or danger, or and then trying to like keep another party member's health up. I don't really think this like strat is just very optimal. It's not really like sustainable, really, because you are still like losing a lot of health. You're only like dealing half back, I would say. It's just better the super guard in like a lot of instances. Honestly, I think super guards kind of make these kind of not good. I'm gonna put them in D tier, honestly. They're not quite F, but I Holdfast, I don't know, since it requires FP as well. I don't know. I'll keep them in D for now. And next up, we have Attack Up and Huge. Both of these are really good, like especially when it comes to Power Lift and Power Punch, but technically Huge only raises it by 2 specifically, and like Pow Up could do it by like, I think like up to, well actually technically like an infinite amount because of Charge. So I mean, this definitely goes in S tier, I would say, because of Charge and Power Lift. But this, I would say, probably goes in A, like Huge goes in A, because it's just 2, but it's still helpful, though. I still think it does help, because, like, increasing your attack power is still very good regardless. And then, next up, we have, increase and decrease defense, like, decreasing the enemy's defense and increasing your defense. I would say, probably, just from, like, the way that I play, that decreasing the enemies, there are like quite a lot of enemies in the game that have higher defense, like in the pit. So it is good to, like, lower their defense at times. However, I would say for, like, increasing your defense for things like Power Lift and then, Hoops' Shell Shield, like, increasing your defense could be very good at times as well. So I'm gonna put, I think, I'll put this in A tier, and then decreasing the enemy's defense, because I think this is more situational, like, with different, like, moves and things you have available to you. So I'll put that in B tier, so, yeah. And then next up we have Electrified. I kind of like this one sometimes, like, I think this is basically, like, a better version of, Payback, I would say, or Payback or Counter or whatever, but I think Electrified can be useful sometimes, like with Zap Tap, like since certain enemies, like Fuzzies and the Swoop type enemies, can like be damaged by it like immediately, but it is fairly situational. So for that, I think, I was thinking about B tier at first, but I think C tier is probably better for this, probably above Allergic, because, like, I mean, like, Allergic is extremely rare, so, yeah. And next up, we have Dodgy, and I know, like, moves like Dodgy Fog can be, like, fairly controversial, but I think it can come in handy sometimes, like, in some runs. Like, certain boss fights, like Bone Tail, it can be useful if you, like, need to, like, evade some attacks. So, I think it can be useful sometimes, despite being a little situational, and also, the fact, like, despite another status effect that I'm gonna talk about being way better than this, I still think maybe, like, B tier would be fine for this one, honestly. I think B tier is fine. And next up we have Gradual FP and Gradual HP. While they can come in handy sometimes if you have, like, a Gradual Syrup or a Slow Shroom and different things like that, like, available, I don't think, like, they're that optimal, because there are better ways of healing. I mean, yeah, it can help you, like, save, like, a Sweet Treat, but, I mean, Sweet Treat is, like, a little more efficient anyway, because you could just, like, appeal or, like, stylish and then fill up the meter again and easily Sweet Treat. So, these aren't that great. Like, I'm just gonna put them in C tier, honestly. Like, they're fine, but they're not really that good. Like, they're not really that optimal, I would say. Like, there are definitely more efficient ways of increasing your HP and FP. Like, it's because if you have, like, a Slow Shroom or a Gradual Syrup on you, you'll probably have another, like, usually most of the time, you'll have another item available that's better, or you'll have Sweet Treat available. So, I don't think either of these moves are that great, or these status effects are that great. So next up, we have Invisible. And this one can be a game changer in pit runs, and is extremely useful in almost any situation, since you're completely immune to enemy attacks, and you could just do a ton of things while you're invisible. Like either just wailing out all your attacks on the enemy, or just trying to heal up and be safe. Like, this is just extremely good, I would say. And can definitely really, really help in certain challenge runs, I would say. And can honestly be broken at times if you buy, like, a bunch of boost sheets and, like, kind of cheese the boss with it. But it's definitely S tier, I would say. I'm not sure if I should put it above, Immobilize or not. Maybe I will. I'll say that they're equal, really. I feel like these are basically equal. And then next up, we have Fast, which is technically what you get with Rally Wink. This is essentially, like, I know, like, technically enemies, like, I think, like, Beldum and some of them can use it, but this one is really good, I would say, for the... I know it's just technically, like, a thing you can do with Rally Wink, but I would say for that, Rallywink is a very good move, so it still belongs in A tier, I would say. Maybe not quite as high as the others, but it's definitely still very good since it allows you to attack multiple times during a turn. And then finally, we have Tiny. And at first, I didn't think it was all that good until I remembered Mini Egg, which is a fairly solid move, I would say. Like, this could definitely help a lot of times. I wouldn't say it's quite A tier, but I think it's fine for the top of B tier, I would say. I would definitely say it could be useful sometimes, like especially like when you're dealing with some enemies that could be really annoying or have like a really high attack power. I definitely think this could be good, like either kind of like late in the pit, like if you have Yoshi, or at least like Mini Mr. Mini. So I think this can be useful sometimes. So yeah, I want to see if there's anything that I want to change here. This looks pretty good for the most part, I would say. So yeah, I would say this is pretty much my ranking. Like, some of these status effects are incredible, like Immobilize, or Invisible, or like increasing your attack power, because you could do it just like so many times with the mechanics in the game. And then there's others that are not very good. Like Confusion, and Dizzy, and like Payback / Counter. I think like this is kind of how I'd rank them. But yeah, anyways, let me know what your thoughts on Thousand Year Door's status effects are down in the comments. They're definitely pretty interesting, I would say. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Happy Mario Day!